Welcome to Swisspreneur, a podcast about startup stories and hands-on learnings from experienced entrepreneurs. My name is Sylvan and I will be your host. Scaling a company comes with many different challenges, and I think culture is probably one of the biggest. Today we're back in St. Gallen and we'll talk to Andreas Fischler, the CEO of Frontify, about scaling culture. He will talk about all their hacks, tips and tricks because they grew their company by more than 300% in terms of employee size in a certain year and still managed to get the culture right, at least from our perspective. He had very impressive learnings to share about salaries, about expenses, but also about how to actually find out if somebody is a culture fit and what you can do if it turns out that somebody actually is not or not anymore fitting to your culture. Overall, a very cool and impressive episode. I'm deeply impressed by the job that they do at Frontify, and I think there are plenty of things that we can take away from today's episode and apply to our businesses. So I'm sure this episode will be worth your time, and as always, you can find additional content on our social media channels. One more important addition to today's episode. When we recorded the show with Andy, he and we were not aware that he would eventually step down as CEO of Frontify. Today, Andy no longer works for Frontify, but this does of course not change any part of his great story and helpful advice. We hope you enjoyed today's podcast despite the change in his personal role. Before we get started with the episode, I would like to introduce you to SBB Startup. If you think that your company is a good fit for the Swiss Railways, get in touch with them or learn more about their startup programs at sbbstartup.com. Andy, welcome back to the second episode of Swisspreneur. It's a pleasure and an honor to have you here again.
Thank you.
Today we're going to talk about culture. And my first question is, what mistakes do you see Swiss startups making repeatedly when it comes to culture?
I don't know if I'm really in the position to really judge about what mistakes they do, but what I see many times, not only in the tech startup scene, is that, or that we see also from our product kind of, because it's brand is kind of the reflection of culture. So what we see is that people don't think when they start a company or a venture, they don't, or many of them I think don't really think about culture. So they just go in, they behave like they behave as a person, could be good or probably, I don't know if it's good for everyone then. And it just evolves kind of. And I think when you start to really grow and add people to your company, it's okay when you're just one or two or three persons, then it works like this. But then you already kind of start fixing, like with only these three people, how you behave, what your values are and so on. And if you're not clear and transparent about this and not reflected about what it really is and how it will be perceived of other people who join, it can pretty fastly go a little bit messy culture-wise, I believe. So I think it's much, much easier to scale people if you know who you are, what you're gonna do, and why you add what kind of persons to your company.
And can you maybe walk us through a bit how you actually do that and found out who you exactly are at your company Frontify?
I think we also didn't do really perfectly. I think the style Roger had and the idea and the style of the kind of culture and company you want to build that I had were matched pretty good, I think. We had some discussions, but at the end of the day, it matched pretty good. So like the kind of the way we want to work. So when you think about how you personally would like to work and how you want to be treated and what's important for you when you work somewhere for a company, I think I wrote it down for me, just for myself at some point in time to also get to the decision at that point in time to whether I want to really go to this venture or not.
What did you write down there? What was on the piece of paper on that day?
It was an Evernote note, by the way. I could search it now. And I, for example, I looked at it, let's say 2 years after that again. And so every year I probably look once in it if it's still, is it still like I wanted it to be, like personally, just for me? What's on? I don't know. Things like that we want to be an honest company, that we want to be, I want a place where you are treated fair, kind of, that you have pretty big responsibility and really trust and not control, like such things. I think, and then, I think we discussed those things, like when you are 2 or 3 or 4 people in the beginning, you mainly have much time to discuss during lunchtime, such topics and so on. So I think we did that as well. And then when we were about, I think 20, 25 people, we really started a small process to really define and document and write the things down, probably even a little bit late.
Okay.
So I would do this, I think next time I would do it a little bit earlier already.
More with 10 people, or what would be the good size?
I believe so. Yeah, I would probably even do it now really in the beginning. No, so I wrote it down, but I didn't kind of share it, or we didn't like work on it together. Right. It was just for me personally what I wanted to have. But I think the better way would have been to share these thoughts, speak openly about what's important for everyone, kind of in terms of value, what kind of company you want to be, what people you're searching for, what character, what skills. And if you write this down and discuss this together, I think it's much easier to just then go on and make decisions in terms of employees and recruiting and everything. It makes so many things much more efficient and fast if you know what you want to be, who you are and what you want to be.
Yeah, you basically have a clear understanding, and then you can basically just say, does that person fit into this idea or this understanding or not, right?
Exactly.
So this is sort of like your guiding star, sort of.
Yeah, and you have to be pretty honest, and sometimes it's probably even a bit embarrassing to talk about such things because they are also kind of emotional, they're connected to the experience you made earlier. Somebody said, hey, come on, this is from your earlier company, it doesn't make sense. And then you have to go back and think about it, probably. Because also we do things we just did because we thought we do it because we did it like this in the early days and it worked kind of. But there's probably another opinion, hey, we can do this better even, and in another way, or in another way at least. And it's still good. So you have to get out of your comfort zone as well a bit. But I think for the whole team building process in the beginning, it makes much sense to have this talk.
So when you started to have this discussion and also started to write things down at 20 to 25 people, company size-wise, was that mainly driven by you as founders, you and Roger, or how strongly did you also involve the whole team? What was their role in the whole process?
I think it was always a very important topic, since also a product goes into this direction of Roger. I think for me, like, it was also important. But like doing it and really like pushing it forward, it was more like Roger who did this. But really doing the process, we made it with an external agency together, also to learn how this process works and take out some learnings for our product as well, kind of was the idea. But then these were the people from the company at that point in time, more like from the design guys who know about kind of methodology, like workshop things and so on. And they owned the whole process and did a pretty cool job. But we did much internally, but also had like aid from an agency.
Okay. And what was the end result? Did you then have like big posters that you put on your walls, or what was the end result that you actually worked and also felt comfortable with?
Yeah, sure. At the end of the day, you have kind of documentation of the things, and you have your vision really wrote down, you have your mission wrote down, which is then really created by the people who at that point in time were at the company and discussed about it. So not only you or Roger, Roger or me saying this is it, or we together. So, but it's like from anyone who works at that point in time. And then I think the really difficult part is then how to bring this to the people. I think you see this pretty much in bigger companies, that the values that they want to have to be, and the bigger they grow, what is perceived at from the employees like let's say this gap grows usually over time, and
What
it's
do you
hard
think?
to
Why is that the case?
because it's just a complex topic. It's really kind of it's like culture is based on the behavior of every single person in your company, and it's also shaped by the outside nowadays, kind of what people talk about you, and it's really just a super complex topic. It's just not so easy to find the right people who really start to understand what you do, especially when you do some things a little bit differently. Like, yeah, it just takes time and energy to onboard the people to this culture, I think. But I think the key at the end of the day is choosing the right people for the kind of culture you defined, and not the posters on the wall. But they will understand, hopefully, when they work together with the people who already work here. I think this is the main thing where you translate culture to the people, kind of, to the new ones at least.
Absolutely.
And hopefully when they at some point in time read some of the words on the posters, they find themselves kind of connecting at least to some of them, not all of them.
Then it's
probably.
a good fit.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah.
And during the process, when he did that with the team for the first time, at the 22, 25 people company size, were there also tough discussions or things that you did not agree on with each other completely? Like, were there any very tough moments while discussing the culture part?
No, I don't think so. Not so, at least not in a broader sense. There were some single, I think, situations where people had to talk about, like Roger and me, we had to talk about some things. It was a good process also to make things a little bit more clear, where like you never 100% agree with each other. Yes. Especially when you have kind of two, guys who know what they want to do, and then you have discussions. But I think the important thing is that you really do these discussions and not just like say nothing kind of for a long time. And but overall, in a broader sense, I think there were discussions about which is our personality, which are the words, which is the same. Yeah, you discuss this, but it's good. So it's good discussions, and I think the most important thing is the discussion itself. And not what, at the end of the day, also important what comes out, but the discussion itself is very important.
To go through that process with the team, that's what's really shaping the posters on the wall.
Yeah. And the difficult thing is now we were 25 when we did this. Yeah. How do we get this now 65 or 75 more people that joined since then? Also to that, like how can we involve them and get them into these discussions?
We will talk about that in a second, because scaling the culture, I think, is a whole nother level of complexity and challenge. Before we talk about that, I would like to come back to your values. Can you give us some example about the current values that you sort of have, or how you describe your culture in your poster way? What sort of values are important? Because from what I understood, your culture is also very value driven.
I think, there's several things, several words, adjectives we could use, but I think for us it's where we differentiate probably from other companies is we try to be, or at least other software companies, we try to be very human. So we think that if we have the chance to go like face to face to customers, we will invest the time. We will do it probably more than other companies do this, because we think we want to be kind of we are a company that has a really big respect for the human being, like respecting their private life and all those things. And we think at some point in time, business nowadays has gotten a little bit too technical at some point in time and a bit too less human. And we try to bring a little bit back of this humanness into sales, how you sell to people. We're listening to people, not only telling you 10 slides and making them feel comfortable, making them feel like, I want to work with those guys the next 2 or 3 or 4 years. Sure. So I think we try to do this, then we try to be as simple as possible. because we talked about this before. I think making things simple is pretty hard work, even if it at the end of the day looks super simple. But these are the things which I think have the most value in the world, when people really think long about what's the real core of the problem or of the solution and one of the things, and then are able to put that down in a way everybody can understand it. So yeah, I don't know, bless Pascal. I didn't have the time to write. I'm sorry, I didn't have to write a short letter, more or less. Yeah, not exactly like this, but
I think this is a very good sort of summary of that statement about how you actually think about, simplicity and how you also want to build products, I would say.
Yeah, but it's not only the product. It's also like when you write an email, do you write such an email, or do you take the energy yourself and try to make it simple?
Yeah, and easy to
We're not
understand.
losing like the core of it, by the way. This takes energy. Absolutely. And you can decide if you just throw like this email to the other one and give him, let's say, the task of taking out what's important in this email, or you can take the energy and make it by yourself. So I think this is one of the ideas we try to bring into here. And yeah, we also try to be a little bit progressive, kind of in different things, like culture-wise, or like with this whole free holiday and no expenses rules and so on. Yeah, when for sure not the first ones who are doing this. But at least I think for St. Gallen, Switzerland, it's probably not so many examples who are brave enough to make something like this. Not also possible for all, to be honest.
Of course.
It's not so, it doesn't work in every sector, every environment.
Yeah, as you said, you also need the right people to make that work, basically, right?
Yeah. Or if you like decided from the beginning you do it like that, it's also kind of one thing you think about when you hire people. Yeah. Can they work with such a situation? Do they work in such a situation? Are they mature enough, kind of?
In the first episode, we also talked about the importance of thinking for yourself and taking time for self-reflection and arranging your thoughts. And I can imagine that in that way, you also get more clear about your personal values, what's important to you. Mm-hmm. In what way do your personal values shape the culture at your company? Because to a certain degree, they have to probably overlap a bit to make you feel comfortable. But to the other degree, you also have to face many different personal values from different people that you work with. How do you make that work, and how strong is the personal influence in that regard?
I think, first of all, you need kind of also in such an environment, you need kind of openness, and also openness to go out of your comfort zone and accept like other opinions or style of doing. But I think there's certain borders of character or behaviors which we probably wouldn't accept. But I don't think it's too much nowadays. Like, sure, in the beginning when you're really only a few people, then the influence of how you behave is pretty direct. But not only from me to others, but also from others to me. And now, yeah, sure, I'm the one who makes probably the company presentation mainly, not only me, but and yeah, you always are a little bit under the watch of everyone, for sure, in this situation. And you have to try to, just like behave according to what you believe. And I think when you have to believe or work in an environment where it doesn't really fit with your own personal values, then it's super hard and takes much energy to do this. You have to act then. And this is really, really exhausting, I believe. So you have to be, I think, when the culture fits to your personal values, let's say overlapping of 80%, which would be good, I believe, then it's kind of, you can just behave like you are as a normal person. And you don't have to always think about how shall I say this and that. So that makes it a bit easier, I think.
And as you also said, I think before, you and Roger basically wanted to build a company that you like working with. So there you go, basically.
Yeah. But I also know not everybody has this opportunity to shape it like he or she wants then at the end of the day. But I think if you do it, if you are brave enough to start something or jump into something very early, then it would be nice if you think about those things, or it makes sense, I think, for yourself, so that you're not like after 1 or 2 years you just quit again because it really doesn't fit to your personal values.
And then you also had massive growth in terms of employees. At a certain point, you grew your employees by 300%. And I can imagine that this is a pretty challenging situation to also keep up with the culture that you built before. How do you do that? How do you manage such a massive employee growth by not messing up the culture and having a jungle basically of different people running around and not fitting the culture that you actually want to have?
There's different points you have to look at. I think first is you have to create a really good screening, recruiting capabilities, like really bringing the right people, asking the right questions, also like in an early stage of the process, like which is more like questions for character and less for skill, probably.
Can you tell us how you exactly do that at Frontify?
Yeah, I think we look first, for sure, we look at the CVs that are coming in, and then we usually want to have a motivation letter that we feel kind of a little bit more motivation, just sending like a CV. Second thing is we do, if we like it, we do a 30-minute video call. Third step is usually then a visit of this person, mainly talking probably to one person for 1 hour, 1.5. And then the last step is coming again to us for half a day and talking to 8 to 10 different people in the process. Pretty exhausting for this person, I believe, but also super good to already connect and also see different views. Also, like for the person who applies, do I really fit to those people here? It's not only 1 or 2 I saw, it's 10. Does it feel like, and those 10 people are diverse, hopefully. Do I fit in here? So it's also for the applicant, it's pretty good to get to know if he or she really would fit in to our culture and the environment.
Can you tell us a bit more specifically what you're looking for example, in a motivation letter or also in a video call interview? What do you ask people? What are you looking for in terms of motivation from their side, or what is attractive to you, basically?
Oh, that's a big question. There's several things, but I think we do want to find out with our questions that we have. It's not super structured. It's just like a set of, I don't know, can this person handle complexity? Can this person work kind of in this free and responsible way? Like you don't have rules, kind of. Are you able to work and create your own like human rules or rules that make sense? And then we look into experience for sure. Also, the skill side is important. Experienced in life, probably, but also in business skills. It's mostly helpful. So, and and I think this is it at the end of the day. So, and then having a good feeling. Hey, do I like to work together with this person? Do I think the person will learn fast, catch up with the whole thing, and is open enough to go into such an environment?
Is there any example that comes to mind when you think about a strong candidate that actually applied to you, where you say, wow, I really want to get to know this person based on the motivation letter or the experience on their CV?
Yeah, there were many in the last couple of years,
Hopefully.
but we didn't get anyone. We didn't convince anyone. So it's not so easy because there we don't follow the classic SaaS playbook, so we don't pay we are in a situation where we could probably even pay higher salaries for more experienced people. But it's this would be, let's say, against the culture of fairness we created until now a little bit, to bring in now some people which do not fit in our salary system that we have, kind of, which we think is more or less fair and transparent. We cannot just like kill this.
Mm-hmm.
And
how does it look like, the salary system, if you want to share that?
Yeah, it's just like it's some levels of salary, and everybody knows that this level more or less exists, and how like you with what things you come to which level more or less, and not super detailed. So we do not do like really because you don't want to talk too much about salary. At the end of the day, our question is always kind of, our question in the recruiting process would be, how much do you need, like at least, to make your living? So this is, let's say, more, if in the first, this is the most important thing. So if you have 2 kids or 3 kids, a house, then probably 5K a month is really a little bit, it's not enough. Doesn't work. Like you cannot just live a good life with that. And yeah, but also you don't need 200K a year usually.
Right.
So we just think to be like reasonable human beings there as well, and say, okay, you have a nice place where you have many other cool things, like freedom to go home whatever you want. So if you have a problem with your kid, and so there's no bad feelings if you just leave office at lunchtime. And this is also worth something, I believe, not only money. So.
And just to go a bit, with a specific example, because I think this topic is very delicate, especially in Switzerland, to talk about salaries and so on. So I would also like to get more learnings from companies, how they do that, to teach to other people, that they find that content hopefully helpful. Mm-hmm. So if you have, for example, a family, father, same education, they have a family to also feed and to pay for vacation and so on, they obviously need more money. And you have the same person, like same education, but no family, no kids. They will theoretically need less money, but have the identical education on paper. Do you pay them a
solution for that?
Do you pay them the same, or how do you handle this?
Yeah. So first of all, it has to be fair. So a person who does the same thing internally like the other person is like first should be on the same level, like payment wise. Mm-hmm. So. And hopefully this level, like overall, will be enough to make a living out of it. So Let's assume that. And then kind of we have, like many startups, we have an option, like stock option program. Sure. And we usually, let's say there's a certain amount of money, like in our case, it's about 80%, which you get like in average in cash, mm-hmm. and 20% in options of this overall salary. So if you have 2 kids, a wife, you have this experience, whatever, you would be free to probably raise this to 90%, like the cash out part, or to even 92%, whatever. Sure. So we created some rules that this is possible. But you could also, like on a free base kind of view, hey, I'm young, I don't need that money. I go more into the risk side. On the risk side, I just take 70 or even 60% of the cash salary, and the rest is options. So you can also do that. But I'd say average over the whole company is around 80% cash, 20% options.
And I think this is a very, very nice way of solving this question, because that's the power that startups have, basically, right?
Yeah, they can do such things. Yeah, usually, yeah.
And we talked about scaling the culture also with rapid growth of employees. So you said having a good recruiting process is the first point. What are the other points that you pay attention to?
Thank you for taking it back. Yeah. So I think onboarding of the new people is the second crucial point. So creating an environment with the people and expectation of people that are here already talk, hey, Daryl, this month, like today, 8 people began.
Today?
Yeah, today, like 1st of July. So this is a lot of work for everyone in the company to integrate those people socially. So I think everybody has to be aware that this is work, that this costs energy. And if anybody welcomes them kind of with open arms and takes the time to talk to the people, to make a chat in a coffee, a lunch, and really feel them welcome. I think this is super important. Yeah. And then secondly, then they have kind of an onboarding process, which is pretty structured. They have many sessions with all the different departments, with me as well, for example. And then, they can ask questions. It's probably a little bit much listening the first couple of days, but then they jump into it at their place in their team. But at the moment, it's all also the people who will start working in the US, in New York, are now here for the whole, for 2 or 3 weeks to do the whole onboarding, to feel how it feels here in St. Gallen. And then, And we also do pretty much try to do the exchange between the offices. So for example, every employee can go work in Frankfurt. if he wants to, like just to work there, so that we have kind of this interaction, and also like vice versa, like they can visit St. Gallen when they want.
Does that happen often?
Yeah, I think once we said kind of every month 3 or 4 people should kind of go visit Frankfurt for a couple of days. I believe they do. So I don't get anything that happens around here anymore, but they do. And I think New York is kind of, there we kind of probably would not pay really just everything, but pay some amount of money that it's attractive for people to really visit New York and just work a couple of days from there.
Very nice. Mm. Is there also a third point that you pay attention to? Okay, that's good.
No, I think these two are pretty crucial. And then the things like they work, and you have to, One third point is kind of, we also like do kind of happiness service. Nice. Like quarterly, like people, pretty easy. You don't takes much time. Just say, how happy do I feel between 0 and 10, and different
sort of a net promoter score.
Exactly, yeah. And then also kind of a free text field where you can put in what would I like to change, kind of. Nice. And then really also addressing those topics kind of openly, transparent, not only kind of they're here, but we don't have any time to work on this. But this is also hard work.
Is that then your job to communicate that?
No, mainly not. I think nowadays it's already our lead employee success, as we call HR here, usually, internally at least. No, he does this kind of, he developed the whole thing, from time to time I also say something, Roger says something, but I think he's kind of, super cool guy, and he can do this by his own. He doesn't need us anymore for this.
On the survey, can you give us an example of something that people say, hey, this is really cool, I really love this here? I mean, I'm sure there are many things, but maybe there's something that comes to mind first when you think about the survey.
What's very cool?
What people sort of tell you in the survey that they really, really do like here, especially?
Yeah, I think is this most important thing, I believe, which many companies say it's like this, but in fact it isn't really like this, is really doesn't matter when you are here. Kind of, we want people to be in the office kind of a certain amount of time to also engage with each other, kind of because it's a human game and not only a business game. But that they really, whatever happens in their family life, in their private life, I think there's never, you have to have a bad conscience if you do something like that. I think this is really a difference, I believe, to many other businesses, where it's hard to not feeling a little bit guilty, at least, when you leave the office early, or these small little things. And to bring this really to a level where people feel confident about doing this, I think this is, I think this is a good example.
Do you do anything especially to really make that happen, or is this mainly derived from the culture that you have?
I think this is something you have to drive from all the people who are there, like early, or also myself, like and Roger and the whole management team. I think we need to do these things as well. So we have to practice what we preach.
Absolutely.
Ourselves. So if I only take 1 week holidays a year, it's probably it's not so cool to say you have to take, just everybody take 5 weeks, but I don't do it. So why don't you do it? So, and why do you say us? Why tell us we have to do it? So I think, but this is pretty simple. I think this is known in whatever, since human beings are here, you have to be try to be an example as well.
Absolutely, yeah. Coming back to the survey, what are, maybe just to give us also one example, what would be something that people say they would change or improve?
We had the diversity topic coming up, but more like not the whole diversity thing, more like the gender part of it, since tech company. Of course. We started to discuss it. I think we found a first good way of like addressing it without being too pushy on it. It's a very difficult topic, and there's many opinions, and for sure also nowadays in the company, not everybody is super perfectly happy how it is. Even I am not. So I would like to have kind of really a 50% environment. I believe it would be better for the company, honestly. But yeah, it just like started like with 2 or 3 men. And usually the first employees, you come out from your really close network. And yeah, it's just like I think the probability that these are also men is a little bit higher. And so it started, and we didn't pay super much attention in the beginning, to be honest, as well. And it evolved, and now we have to find ways and make it open. But I think we get good, hopefully.
Absolutely. Cool. One thing that I also picked up several times now from you saying is that you really pay a lot of attention to the fairness aspect, that you want to treat people fairly and also sort of equally to a certain degree. How do you decide basically what is fair and what is not fair? I can imagine that this is pretty difficult every now and then.
This is super difficult. This is an ongoing discussion in the whole company. So I believe you can, if you're able to create an open feedback culture, people will at least tell you when they don't feel treated fairly. And I think that's the first thing you have to try to do, that you just even get to know when people feel like unfairly threatened. And if they do, I think then you can react. I think it's super hard to create an environment where people really talk about what it's kind of disturbing them, and where they don't feel like really, where they don't feel there's no fairness in it. Kind of, this is mostly like, it's position or salary. These are the classic things, kind of. But since our system is mainly pretty transparent, I think, and we don't try to focus too much on money. I think we don't have that many of those discussions. But yeah, let's see if we can keep this up. So this will get harder the bigger we grow as well.
Sure.
Yeah.
And are there also like regular check-ins that you do to ensure that everybody is on the same page, or that you actually feel the pulse when something's bugging people, where they are not happy or don't feel treated fairly?
Yeah, I think this comes back. Like first, like there's some more outgoing people which would just like say it in your face when it's something they didn't like. So it's also kind of really from all people that have kind of a leadership functions. They should really go and ask actively about, hey, was this okay what I said? Did you feel well? So if you actively ask, then you get people to usually say what they mean, and you also signalize that you're open for this feedback and also honest feedback. And second is this survey, where you can anonymously like give your feedback if you're really not so much the outgoing person or not so much used to this open conversations. Then you can put it in there, and that's easy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, I can imagine that also during your several years of startup CEO career or entrepreneurial career, there are also people that you hire at a certain point, and then your company grows, you hire more people, and at a certain point in time, you realize that this person might not be a good fit to your company culture anymore, because it just happens that you outgrow each other, that there's no good fit anymore. How do you deal with that, and have there been any cases of that?
Yeah, we had such cases. Like I think probably every company at our size had. These are super tough decisions, and and for sure we can do it better. We're still learning how to do this really good. So, but first, I think we have the mindset to, let's say, recognize early when something doesn't really work perfectly, and then really try to go really early in such discussion and try to discuss this openly, and also try to give kind of really good feedback to this person, like that this person really has a chance to understand where probably to improve or where could be like problems. We also think about or talk to such a person of, are you the right place? Is there probably other like jobs where you would feel better like working, or where you can really use your potential? And these are the ways we're going, and then we usually try to set another whatever 2 or 3 months after. Let's sit together again. Let's discuss it again and think about if something improved or not, or how do you feel now, or but there were also 2 or 3 cases where we kind of stopped kind of working together. But there's always kind of this super hard, and also like the whole communication into the company. If you have kind of this strong culture, it's also hard to like this human culture. It's kind of hard to let somebody go out of the family, and it's always pretty tough for us, and hopefully it doesn't happen that much.
Sure, because the way that your culture works there also, you sort of have like a second family, right?
Yeah.
To a certain degree.
But still, you cannot be part of the beer on Friday evening, and it's okay, kind of. Yeah, probably with your family, that's also okay. I don't know. But it shouldn't get religious, I think, or too much kind of. So I'm not so sure if the family term is the right one. I think family is something even closer than company. But sort of like trying to feel responsible for the people who work here, like all together, kind of.
And then when you actually had to let go, which luckily didn't happen too often, but then you had to let go of someone who's not a good fit anymore. How did you communicate that in the company? Did you really then also base that on the values that you had to explain why it was not a good fit anymore, or was it more performance-based? How did you do that?
We just tried to tell the story as honest as it was, kind of, and can be different reasons or have been different reasons, and we just try to tell how the story in reality was, to be as honest and transparent as possible. But as I said, this is kind of a really hard, but probably the most hard thing to do for me or other people who had to do it, like in front of the whole company, telling that we had to finish kind of a contract with somebody. And there's always kind of, you always have also as a person, you have this fear of scaring the other people when you do such a thing. But I think when you're really honest and when you really think about explaining why it was like this, hopefully this explanation gets to the people and they can understand it and think, it can also get the opposite, that people feel more safe because they know what is okay and what is probably not.
What I also find very impressive is that over 5 years, there have only been 2 people that left your company on their own terms, basically, where they said, hey, I want to quit.
Oh, it's 3. This
3,
point
okay.
in time.
Okay, but when we talked, it was only 2. But okay,
Yeah.
I mean, still 3 people over 5 years. This is still a very, very low number. Is this mainly the result of having a strong focus on the culture as you have?
I believe so, yeah. On strong, like good recruiting process, good onboarding of the people. For sure, also growth, that everything is possible. So you could also be like forced to let people go because you don't have any more money. It could also be. So we were lucky in that thing. So everything worked pretty smooth. Not too much ups and downs. So pretty steady. I think this is mainly about culture, about the freedom that people feel.
There are so many more questions that I want to ask you, but we have to come to a conclusion of this episode. And before we do that, there are a couple fire questions that I prepared for you.
Okay.
So I give you a choice between 2 or 3 different examples, expressions, statements. And it's always with a startup perspective, and you can just choose one of them.
All right.
And you can quickly explain, maybe with 1 or maximum 2 sentences, why you chose that part.
Okay. I'll
Are you
try
ready?
to keep it short.
Perfect. So let's start with the first one. United States, Europe, or China?
Europe.
Why?
Because our origins are here.
Good reason. Motivation or discipline?
Motivation.
Why is that?
I think discipline is also important, but motivation is the cause of all things you start somewhere of change.
Work-life balance or 80-hour work week?
Work-life balance, even if I don't like the word term. No, I think you have to find a way to make work a part of your life that it's kind of makes sense to make this either 8 hours every day, like, and not only for earning money.
And then we're not talking about work-life, but about a life balance, right?
Yeah, mainly.
Small 10-people teams or big 100-people teams?
Small 10-people teams. I believe there's a certain amount of people like working closely together, which that really works, and don't have too much like administration and processes in between. So I believe small teams work better.
Skills or character?
Character. Yeah. So I think there is the saying, high character, not skills. I would totally, it's not like say 100%, 0%, but totally fine with giving it a bit more value to character hiring than skill hiring.
Bootstrapping or VC company or VC funded?
Bootstrapping, because whatever bootstrapping exactly means. So we weren't 100% bootstrapped, but at least with not too much capital, we came pretty far. I believe it's good to have the time to develop yourself in the beginning. And I think bringing in a VC pretty early could cause too much pressure and influence of someone who knows probably much, much more than you do. And it's hard for you to keep that up or learn that fast, probably.
And the last one, young 25-year-old founder or older 40-plus-year-old founder?
Equal, because I think it doesn't matter. It's just like, I think when the founders are a little bit older, like not directly from university and have some business experience, I think the risk of failing is probably a bit lower. But on the other hand, when you start with 25, you don't have much to lose. You just try. You also learn super fast, probably even faster. When you can do your third startup with 30, then you probably are much better than I was with 40. So therefore, both is okay, I believe.
Absolutely. Andy, thank you so much for taking the time. It was really a pleasure to talk to you, and all the stories and insight you've given us. I'm sure they will be helpful to other entrepreneurs out there.
Hopefully, and thank you for the good questions.
Thank you very much. All the best for the future, and hope to see you again soon.
Thanks.
Thank you very much for listening to today's episode. We hope you enjoyed the conversation, and if you did, we would be thrilled to get your rating on Apple Podcasts. Next week, we will already be back with a new episode. We will host our next Q&A session where we will answer your questions. Doesn't matter if you're facing a big challenge at the moment, need help with a huge problem, or just have topics that you would like to learn more about, send us your questions and we will get them answered by our experts out of our network. So next week will be all about your questions and answers to them with hands-on and practical experiences from our experts. Make sure to tune in to an all-new episode of Swisspreneur next week, and we hope to see you then.